about where we are, and there's like a hopelessness that seems to be relevant in almost every aspect. When you look at the police conduct and the prisons that are being filled up and the unfair sentencing and all these different things, they take a totality on you. And I think that we have to be very, very mindful. And when we look at the job situation down here, because, I'm of a mindset that poverty is responsible for a great deal of the problems in the African-American communities. When you don't have money, you turn to other resources to get by, which then translates into robbing, stealing, and all kind of other things. And so this becomes a hopelessness in the black community. So those are the problems I see rearing their ugly heads on a consistent basis. So we have to fix that, and we can't look at the Latino community as the adversaries to blacks not getting jobs. I hear this so much too, that they taking all of our jobs. Well, that mindset is put out there to disillusion us. The jobs were never there for blacks, even before there was an immigration problem. We didn't have a lot of jobs. That's why they had the thing for affirmative action, so that we would be able to, companies would have to, by mandatory, employ somebody, employ diversity. So we never had the jobs. And so the Latino community is not there. We have to continue to look at our political leaders who are filling the black communities, but that's only part of it. Us as a people have to do a better job of raising our children and tying them to the strengths and the bonds that develop prosperity and that develop a sense of pride about yourself, sense of dignity about yourself, because we have to take some personal responsibility as well. We can't depend on politics to fix every problem that face the African American community.
Okay, let me ask you this, Angerio, Vanessa, and feel free if there's anybody else out there on the line. The lines are wide open. You may jump in at any time. When we look at this term, the state of Black America, okay, and we look at education, we look at the crisis, we look at the absence of the father, and then we see how the kids are going astray. Is when we look at the personal responsibility aspect, is that something that we need to deal with specifically on our own without outside sources and outside help? Or how would you define, what would you like to see with regards to taking care? Because we know that education is the key. And we know that if we're not going to school, we're not getting an education. We know that if we're going to school and goofing off, we're not getting an education. So how do we form some type of relationship where we start to marrying education rather than divorcing it when we look at all the statistical data that's out there? I'll start with you, Vanessa.
Well, I think that as far as the education part, that parents or grandparents or whoever, whatever school-age children you have, if you're the grandparents that's taking care of the kids, or if you're the parents that are taking care of the kids, you need to get involved in what they're learning at school to, find out what curriculums that the school is giving out, especially in black schools. And the hard part about that is most parents, when you send your kids to school, you just automatically think that they're learning something, that they're getting that full education, that they're going to get a career, they're going to go to college, they're going to get a career. And what I found was in Michigan, I had a friend that sent her kids to college prep schools. All of their classes were college prep from the time they were little kids. They're all grown now. And she felt like, she and her husband, like this was the best thing for our kids because they were involved with their children. Then come to find out when their son, as a matter of fact, he went to TSU down here in Houston, he called his mother and he told her, he said, Mom, he said, all those college prep classes that you had us in? And she said, yeah. He said, they have nothing to do with college. And this is what black people need to find out, what kind of classes that they're telling you that are college prep. Are they really college prep? But once your kids get to college, and then they're lost. I mean, he graduated because he was a smart young man. Mm-hmm. But there's some that are not going to graduate. They're not going to finish school because they just hit a brick wall. Mm-hmm. And this is why we should be more much more diligent about what our kids are being taught in school.
Okay, Ongerio, got a message that was sent in. I'm going to let you address it. Vanessa, you can too, because I believe you're from the state of Texas. Here we are. This is from Mr. Hopkins. The state of Texas is no different in terms of a pitiful state of black America. Texas has more black elected officials in every area of local and state government, yet we are still in the top statistics of unemployment and poverty. We also have the largest number of black men and women incarcerated and on death row. I'll take it to you, Ongerio.
Right. Just going into politics alone and being an African American won't solve the problems of African American. You have to put decent, respectable, honorable people, no matter what color they are in order to have a viable solution to the problems that are dealt with from a political aspect. But again, that's based in part on what we do and how we raise and teach our children in the home. And if you don't fix that problem, it doesn't matter who you send into government, local, state, state or federal. It doesn't really matter. You're going to get the same result. So we have to put honorable, decent, and respectable people to fix that part of it. But all of this goes back to a part of raising, making sure that we tie the spiritual bonds in our black community to our children so that they will understand the value of prosperity and proceed toward it. So just having blacks in politics alone will not resolve the situation. You have to have people who have respect and are interested in solving common problems that we face in our African American communities. We can't just send them there because they're black. Mm-hmm. So I would say, that would be my perspective on that.
Okay, Vanessa?
Yes, that's true. Because just because they're black doesn't mean that they're pro-black. Mm-hmm. And fortunately, a lot of them are just pulling a paycheck. And when they pull in a paycheck, they're not working for you. And if we, as black people, don't address that by, calling, asking them, hey, what are you doing about this situation? I haven't seen you do anything about this situation. I elected you. You work for me. And this is what people have to understand. These people work for you. You don't work for them. You have to make them do their job.
So let me ask you guys this, and anybody else that's on the line. If we're saying that, and this is no intent, it's just a question. If we're saying that just because they are black does not mean that they are working for the best interest of those in the black community with regards to the state of black America, then if we're having trouble within and we don't trust outward, then where do we get our representation from to fix or even start to identify with the problems that we know we have in black America? I'll start with you, Vanessa.
I think there should be, I've seen them where they recall mayors in different cities because they weren't doing their job. And unfortunately, it was a black mayor, but if they're not doing their job, then we need to, okay, we're going to recall you, or at least tell them that's what we're going to do. We're going to, you're going to have to address the issues of the community, because if you're not going to do that, then I'm not going to back you anymore. I'm not going to vote for you anymore if you're running again or whatever. But we need to go to these town meetings. We need to go to, we even, start a petition. I mean, do what you have to do. Mm-hmm. Learn how to change the law. It's right there. It's on the internet. You can learn how to change the law. Get people, the like-minded people, the people that are going to back you up. They listen to you when you're in numbers.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So we have to be in numbers.
Right. Ongerio, let's take what Vanessa just said. And let's look at a scenario where we have those who come from the Malcolm X theory. And then we have those that come from the Martin King theory. Some believe by any means necessary, and some have the means and the ideals of we work across party lines, because racial lines, and all that other type. And when we have one that's in there representing this way, but the community feels that it should be done the other way, does that cause a problem or a roadblock for the state of black America, in your opinion?
Absolutely, it causes a roadblock for the state of black America. We cannot go to war to solve this problem from a physical perspective. Picking up guns, taking up arms. War solves nothing but the end of time. So we have to approach it from a political basis and a basis of peace. This is why I think Martin Luther King was so successful in uniting the marches and this is where these young African-American brothers and sisters need to know how powerful marching is and boycotting is. This is how you get results. This is how our leaders back in the era of the 60s changed many other laws. They had local leaders. It wasn't just Malcolm and Martin. There were many local leaders who didn't get the recognition because they, weren't on the front street, but they were just as important to the movements. And so they went down and they galvanized their communities and they went to the courthouses and they marched and they petitioned and they did all of the hard work. They shopped the slogans. They did all of that to make change. And that's the most effective way you can get change and make change happen. The sense of violence comes from a sense of frustration of it being done so many years and for so long. And when you see people rioting, that's a SOS for help. That's a scream and a cry for help. See me over here, injustice is happening and I'm not getting any help. So that's basically what that is, but that's not the approach that we should take. Mm-hmm. So we have to approach it from a very peaceful perspective, but also a very aggressive perspective in terms of, the political avenues. And that means galvanizing leaders in your communities to unite the communities, to go to those courthouses and march when there are policies that are not in common with the values that we are seeking. So I think that's what we have to do.
Okay.
And Ms. Vanessa is exactly right.
Okay. And Vanessa, let me flip it over. Being from Flint, Michigan, and all of those places out in Detroit that has a large population of Minister Farrakhan, Elijah Muhammad followers. Some have always said, even back in the 40s, 50s, 60s, and on fast forward to now, that King's approach was not the right approach. Okay, and then we flip it over and subscribe to Elijah Farrakhan, Minister Farrakhan, and Malcolm. Does that impede a roadblock, put a roadblock with regards to the progress of the state of Black America if we have a leader that takes the King approach rather than the Minister Malcolm, the Minister Elijah, and the Minister Farrakhan?
Most definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Malcolm and Martin Luther King, now King was older, and like Ontario said, Malcolm was frustrated. And when he said by any means necessary, that was a frustrated statement because they were tired. And when you get tired, you start thinking of other ways to quickly resolve something. Now, King, he was into integration in the beginning. And some people just felt like integration wasn't the answer, that it was, I think even King may have changed his mind about integration. But I hear a lot of blacks now are saying separate but equal, that they believe that we would be better off separate but equal. And then you have some that still believe in diversity, mm-hmm. that we can't do it alone. We have to have everybody on board. We have to have blacks, whites, Hispanics, Orientals, everybody, Arabs, whoever. It has to be nations of people to make a change in this country anyway. I mean, like a huge change all the way across the board. Just they even a lot of the younger kids are saying, okay, all that protesting and marching, all that stuff is old. That was old school. That stuff don't work anymore. We need to do this. We need to arm ourselves because they're armed. Okay, when you're talking like that, like Ontario said, you're talking about that's it's going to end in death. Somebody's going to get killed, and then what's going to happen after that? You're going to be right back at square one.
Mm-hmm. So Vanessa, Ontario, and anybody else that's out there, when we look at what we're saying and what we're hearing, it is. Let me just be just ask the question. It's no negativity or any slight at anybody. Is it fair to say that the state of Black America, as far as the leadership roles, that there's some confusion going on, and if so, how can we eradicate and or eliminate that confusion from continuing to keep us in the stinking thinking mode, to keep us stabilized, to keep us regressing, and all those other things. Angerio, what do you say?
I believe that, again, it goes to your local community leaders who are able to galvanize and present a positive movement forward. This is why I'm creating the movement called MOC, Many Hands, One Circle. We have to have a positive thinker who is willing to step out front and have the inspirational qualities to inspire others to approach this problem. And that's one of the things that we're lacking is too many community leaders who have the tenacity or the willingness to step up and start leading their communities. We don't have to have a one big leader like we did back in the days. Everybody, it's like I say, I think that everybody who does what they're supposed to in their home is a leader. And when you do that, then things will begin to come together a lot better because you have unity. You cannot win any war without unity. And this is one of the things you always hear me say. In order to stop your enemy, you got to know as much as he knows. In order to defeat him, you got to know something he doesn't. And so this is the thing we have to do. We have to unite to fight this. But that's going to require local leaders, and it's going to require individuals who are raising their children in their homes. If we're not willing to do the hard work it takes to unite, then it's never going to happen. So that's the thing that has to happen is the unity within our families and within our communities. And then we can approach this problem. But that message has to get out there. It has to be heard. It has to be acted on and presented. If not, then this is a futile attempt if we don't do those things.
Okay. When we, Vanessa?
Yeah, I agree with what you just said. It's going to be very futile if we don't unite together. Like when you said galvanize, that's what it's going to take, because they listen to numbers. This whole world is based on numbers. So when you come at them in huge numbers, they have to pay attention. They have to do something. Something has to change. Something has to give.
Okay.
They have to be smart about it.
Okay, we know that during all of the era of the 60s, fast forwarding to 70s and even maybe the early part of 80s, the church has always been the cornerstone of the communities, specifically black community. And when we talk about the state of black America, now with mega churches being built, ministers in some cases are just what they are, ministers only within the four walls. We know that a lot of the leadership, Angerio, a lot of the churches were used to have and house the meetings, to strategically plan, to get together and talk about who would best benefit running for office or whatever. Based on that, having no fair play now, and it's lacking. Do you feel that has impaired the black community, the state of black America, Angerio, from moving forward? And if so, what can we do to change it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that ministers have concerned themselves so much with the prestigious look. When you go galvanizing huge churches cost a lot of money. When you start asking for more money from a poor community that's already struggling, you're going to lose a whole lot of respect from that community. And you're going to lose a lot of church members from that community. And so it has an ineffective thing. Not only that, it feeds into the mindset of the people who are in that church that it's all about showmanship. It's all about how you look. It's all about what you have on, how you dress. And these kind of messages often get lost. The real messages that are at heart often get lost among all of these kind of mediocrity things that are going on with our ministers now. They're more consumed with fancy cars, large homes, diamond rings. I mean, they ain't nothing but, I don't even want to use that the word, but that's basically what they're doing, man. I mean, they're pimping them congregations very, very differently. Differently, in a different kind of way. But I think that we got to get back to the basics, and we got to get away from the love of money to get back to the root of what's really going on. If we continue to follow that trail of the love of money, then our churches are going to be non-effective in helping to solve this issue. And our ministers have to understand that and bring that point back and get away from all of this luxury type life, because that's not leadership right there. How much you got and how big it is, and asking people to put in more money who's already struggling is not a way to unite your congregation and get them focused on the issues that are really plaguing them. which is unemployment, education, and those kind of things.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Vanessa, going to Ongerio's point, and many that I have heard and talked to, they use the word ministers being pimped, pimping, the congregation or whatever the case may be. And, we can, all of that's debatable. But for the sake of debate, do you feel that Ongerio has a point? And if so, what is it that we as individuals who have the opportunity and a voice and have an avenue to be heard, what is it that we can do to summons these people, regardless as to who they are, regardless as to how old they are, and let's talk a sense of truth, let's share a sense of knowledge, and go back to what used to work, which we know what worked, but it appears that we've caught hold, to the glamorization, the commercialization of, the church and all these other things, like Ongerio said, the shiny shoes, the bling bling, the fancy cars, while the congregation suffered. What do you think about that, Vanessa?
He's 100% correct.
Mm-hmm.
What? I forgot the minister's name when I was in Michigan, when I was a little girl. He's the one that built the crystal church.
Mm-hmm.
Church that was made out of all glass. And it just seemed like churches started getting bigger and bigger and bigger after that, when you start talking about your mega churches.
Mm-hmm.
We had one right in Houston. Everybody knows Joel Osteen. And somebody made the comment that it's strange how a minister can make all this money and he's not selling, you're not getting anything really from him other than some words every Sunday or, whenever he's up there talking to you. But his lifestyle gets, more and more glamorous. And they're on television and, they're almost like superstars. They're not really preachers as far as I'm concerned. They're not ministers. I believe they're actors. I don't believe there's anything about this. I mean, they're not godly. I'm not understanding why people even attend mega churches.
Mm-hmm.
Like city churches, the little pastor here on the corner. These are the people that when you walk in there, he'll say, "How you doing, Miss Ghazi? How are you today? What did you do this week?" If I walk in Joel Osteen's church, he's not going to know my name. If I've been going there for 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I met a guy that attended his church, and I asked him about Joel Osteen. He laughed. I said, what are you laughing at? He said, "You can't talk to Joel Osteen." I said, "What do you mean you can't talk to Joel Osteen? Don't you go to his church?" "Yeah, but you can't talk to him." So people need to understand, when you want to hold a minister like that accountable, you better hold his congregation accountable. Because if you're going to give this man your money and think that it's okay, and then he goes out to his multi-million-dollar house with his big airplanes in the driveway, or if a congregation believes that my minister should fly around in a $65 million plane, there's something wrong with you.
Mm-hmm.
You need to reevaluate everything from day one. That's not godly.
Mm-hmm.
And I've heard some people say, well, it's not about that. God don't care about you having wealth. He don't care about you having it. All y'all doing is tearing down, somebody that made it. Okay, this is what you call making it by, having poor people come into church. You tithing every Sunday or whatever, giving these people your money, and then you go home and your lights are off. So we need to understand that some things are really, really backwards. So we need to hold them accountable, just like you would hold a politician accountable. If this is your church, you better sit down and talk to that pastor. If he feels like, he ain't got time to talk to you, I wouldn't be in his church.
Well, I'll tell you, Vanessa, there's obviously a listener out there who agrees with you, that says from a social media standpoint that all Joel Osteen is a feel-good preacher. We have another message that's coming in that says this: "We are still subject to the mindset of slaves who are placed as lookouts for uprising in and among the black community. The organization and unifying of our people has proven as recently as the students of Missouri coming together to produce change. So we, as their elders and parents, have no excuse for not uniting together to save ourselves. The churches are our responsibility to change as well." Ongerio Cameron, what do you think about that?
Amen, for whoever that is that sent that in, that is absolutely for her. That's spot on. That's it.
Go ahead.
That is spot on. I couldn't have said it better, man. That's it right there. I don't even have to say nothing because they just said what I would have said. That's exactly it.
Okay, so Angerio, let me buzz in a minute. Since we know that we're talking tonight about the state of Black America, again, we know that there are other people out there on the line. Feel free to chime in. If we know this, Angerio, with all the wisdom that we have now, with all the education that we have now, with all of the technology, why are so many people just sitting idle? Because, Vanessa, we've heard it, we see it. A lot of people have fallen by the wayside and say, I just don't attend church no more. I don't even go to church. So if we look at Mr. Osteen, Vanessa, and we're supposed to go, we're supposed to be able to talk to the man, to counsel her. So if we go into a church and we cannot be counseled by the minister or the clergy, then why are we steady going there, Vanessa?
It's just like I said, he's more of a, your minister is more of a celebrity. Some people want to be associated with that. It's just like a celebrity that is Beyonce. I can't go knock on Beyonce's door, but I'm her fan. These people are fans. That's not a congregation, that's a fan.
Amen.
So when fans don't care, fans, all they want to do is be around that person. You're not looking at Jesus Christ. If Jesus Christ was here right now, you probably would walk right past him and go over there to that nigger preacher.
So, Vanessa, what you're saying is this, and I'm going to let you, and I just wrote this thought as you were talking. Angerio, anybody else is out there. What you're saying is this, is that being a fan rather than a member of a church is causing a disruption and creating a component or it's contributing to the part of the problem with regards to the state of Black America.
Right.
Now,
a fan is sure a fanatic.
Mm-hmm. So being a fan is what you're saying that you're believing or suggesting or insinuating that being a fan is what the minister is wanting rather than members of the church so they can receive the knowledge and go from within the four walls outside and tell a neighbor, tell a friend what thus say and how we can lift up our community. Because if we look at one of the comments, Vanessa, earlier, one of the earlier comments that was made. Okay, I wrote something to the effect that I guess I'm on a roll. Okay. And basically said this, that guess I'm on the road based on the years of my profession. Okay, no one, including me, have the right to tell someone how many kids they can or cannot have. But here was my logic. Okay, if you're struggling with one kid, why have two? If you have two and struggling, why have three? If you have three kids struggling, why have four? At some point, the problem becomes ours and not society. How does that contribute to the Black community with regards to a lot of single parents, a lot of single female parents within the Black community? Jerry, I'll start with you.
Having come from an absolutely enormous family myself who struggled, if that mindset had existed, I wouldn't be here. So I'm so glad that my parents didn't think like that. Mm-hmm. So I wouldn't be here. But one thing I can tell you is my mother and them absorbed the problems with love. What is it that Jesus fed all those people with bread and fish? Mm-hmm. So we can do the same thing if we absorb it with love. And that's the thing that we have to do. We have to attack it with love. My mother, not only that, she wouldn't let a stranger go by hungry, and we barely had enough to eat. So this is what love does. So this is the thing we have to get back to in the Black community is loving one another. We have to really love one another. And that seems like such a cliche thing to say. But if we did that, I guarantee you we could go to sleep again at night without having to lock our doors and sit behind them with a gun. Mm-hmm. So we have to get back to loving one another in our community, uplifting one another. And this is where your community leaders come in. This is where your parents come in, and the people who are responsible, for raising their children. This is where all of this comes in at, man. If we do those things right there and teach love as a measurement going forward, then we will not have the systemic failures that we're having in our churches. with the congregations being all caught up in the fame of it, as Ms. Vanessa said. And we wouldn't have the trouble in the penitentiaries with so many of our young black brothers and sisters going to jail. We wouldn't have the violence and the rape and the teenage pregnancy and all these things that bring destruction to our communities. Because we would have a sense of love and value about life. You wouldn't see the gang banging that you see. All these things are destructive in the mindset and thinking about prosperity and what is success. And see, success is not taught to our black people by nothing but material wealth. And when we teach them that success is maintaining your independence according to your own lifestyle, then they'll begin to understand that you don't have to be wealthy to be successful. You have to be happy to be successful.
Come on, Ontario.
Absolutely, two different things. So we have to just get to teaching them that.
Vanessa, parents.
Yeah.
It's 100% ludicrous for a parent to think a child can miss 20, 30, or 40 unexcused days of school and get mad when they see the report card, and it says retain. I wrote that immediately after that, it should say to the parent, prepare for jail. I personally myself, Vanessa, am tired of the excuses that we use. Okay, so is this a direct contributing factor to the state of Black America when it comes to education, when we all know that education is the key? We know that more people back during the civil rights era graduated from college. They got law degrees. They became PhDs. They became doctors. They became all of these other things when the struggle existed. The very moment we had the opportunity to sit on the bus, then we lost focus. Vanessa, has that mindset contributed, in your opinion, to the state of Black America?
Yeah, it has. Because if we miss that many days of school, okay, now we might be considered old school, but I'm like Ontario. I came from a family of 15 kids.
Mm-hmm.
And we were poor, but we were loved. We were happy. And I believe God makes a way for people that love their kids and take care of their kids. He provides. It's like he said when Jesus fed the multitude with the fish and the bread. It comes from somewhere. But as far as if my kids miss that many days of school, either that parent or both of those parents are working nonstop and they don't have time to, check on their kids, or your kids are skipping school and you just don't care. So when they do bring home that bad report card, that's on you. Don't even try to get mad because they got retained.
Mm-hmm.
You need to evaluate who you are and how you're raising your child.
Mm-hmm.
But that child is going to miss out.
Okay. I'll tell you, we got another message from social media that says, it is a shame that people attend church for social purposes and worship the pastor rather than attend to meet Jesus and establish a relationship with him rather than people. Not say that congregating with people with the same mindset is not a good thing. It goes back to what you said, Vanessa. If you cannot talk to the man who is the leader of the church, then how can you establish a relationship when he or she are the ones who are supposed to explain, to give you an understanding of what thus said the Lord? So if we can't touch the person who is the leader, then it would appear to me that sitting on front of the bus was an error. It would appear to me that drinking out of a separate water fountain was an error, because when we were doing those things, we were able to touch the preacher. We were able to touch the pastor that had a PhD, that had a doctorate degree, or that had a law degree. We were able to touch the greatest orator of the 20th century, one of Martin King. So if we could touch Martin, but we can't touch Joel Osteen, it seems to me that we have a problem. And though the church itself, I'm not talking about the building, I'm talking about the person, the leader, the people. It would appear to me that there lies a problem and could be a direct contributing factor to the state of Black America. I'll let you take a hit at that, Ontario.
Okay, thank you. Yes, I think that sometimes in our lives we have to look at things from a progressive state when they go bad and wrong. It take time to fix things, but we can't go back to the Jim Crow era. That was just strictly wrong. We can't be divisive and try to unite the world. That's just it's not going to happen that way.
Mm-hmm.
But when we were faced with difficulties that come along like this topic right here today, this is a teachable moment today. This is a moment to act on. This is a process and a time for us to make a change. Change is constant, but it is certain. So we have to just work at this. This is a problem that come up, and it won't be our last problem. Our lives and our future is going to be filled with problems, but they're going to be filled with solutions. And so this is one of those moments right now where we have to fight that. There's no viable one thing, but we can't go back, so we have to go on. And so that would be my message that I would send out to the brothers and sisters out there listening today, is we just have to galvanize, deal with this problem, try to bring our preachers back in. Just as they try to bring us in, we have to bring them back in too, because sometimes they stray too far. And we have to love them and bring them back as we expect them to love us and bring us in.
Okay.
So those are just things we have to work at.
Okay, Angerio, point well taken. I love it. But let's play devil's advocate here. Let's take what Vanessa said and indicated, that we can't touch Joel Osteen. We can't touch a Creflo Dollar. We can't touch a T.D. Jakes. And these are the people who appear to have all the eyes and ears. So if we can't touch them, how can we bring them together to talk to us when they feel like they are so wholly high to they're no more earthly good, which means they're not willing and interested in talking to us. They're not interested in hearing us. They're not interested in coming on these programs. They're not interested in doing anything. So how can we bring them back to the fold? Or should we just protest, contest, and if they're not of sound doctrine, then we need to be out there being a drum major for justice? What do you think about that, Vanessa?
I don't think that it would take a catastrophe to bring them back down to earth. That's the only thing I can see.
Mm-hmm.
They're not interested in what you might be thinking, that, especially Creflo Dollar, since he did get his $65 million jet, so he's happy. But like I said, I fought the congregation. I fought the people out there that's giving him the money, that's tithing with his church, and I'm pretty sure they're giving love offerings and everything else that they can give. They're the ones that need, if you're going to stay in his church, these people, I don't want to say that they're going to be lost. I don't know if they are actually listening to the word or not, because I really don't know what word he's giving out. Because if you can convince somebody to do this for you and they don't see anything wrong with it, because that's the one thing about the state of Black America, a lot of blacks don't see anything wrong. They don't believe there's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
When they don't believe there's a problem, they're not looking for a solution. So these churches, T.D. Jakes and all of them, they don't see themselves as problems. They actually see themselves as men of God. And when you put yourself that high up, like I said, it's going to take a catastrophe to bring you back down.
Okay.
So come and talk to you.
I'll tell you, Vanessa, I'm going to come back to that point. We got another social media message. These are not parents we are talking about. These are people who are not responsible enough to make any sound life decisions for themselves, let alone another person, a child in need of guidance. So this type of individual is so selfish and untrustworthy that a child is probably more accountable for their own actions than the so-called parent. Angerio, agree or disagree with that?
I can agree with that. if we're still talking about preachers and ratio to them, is that what we're still talking about?
Yeah. We're talking about the whole 9 yards.
Right. Absolutely. I think that's absolutely. I totally agree with them on that. These preachers, man, and they out there. They just out there. And I think that what we have to do is be mindful and give credit to some of the smaller churches out there that are doing the great work and the good things, because there are many of them that's out there doing that. We place so much attention to social media that's all we see on TV and things like that. But if we get out in the private sector, there are many small churches doing great things and doing good work. And that's where we have to take our focus to and get off of these big churches. Those who got those $1 million congregations, they may be loyal to them, and if that's where they want to go, we can't we can't convince them that that's the wrong church to go to, but we have to pay attention to the ones that are doing the good work in the community, because that's where development starts from the beginning and goes up. So we have to go back there.
Okay.
Back to the beginning. All right. And start with the preachers who are doing the good work.
I agree with you, Ongerio. Another a social media comment. All they want is your money. I've attended T.D. Jakes' church, and at that time, I enjoyed it, but he has changed since then. Money is their God. Joel Osteen and the Cooney can't call his name right now, but have been to his revival, but they are all after that ever-loving dollar. What I'm going to do right now, I'm going to pause right quick. I'm going to take a moment or two to run commercial. Ongerio, if you guys don't mind, we're going to stay. We're going to open up the lines again, and we're going to see if we can get some other people to engage in some of this conversation, because, again, it's come one, come all, tell a neighbor, tell a friend. We're on the move in 2015. We're trying to make a difference. We're not just sitting idle. We refuse to sit idle, and we will not accept just anything. We're going to continue to try to talk about the things that make a difference. So if you don't mind, just pause for a brief moment. We'll ask you that. We'll mute your line so we won't have no noise in the background, and we'll be right back.
I feel that leadership in anything is the key to success. I have consistently shown this leadership ability throughout my entire career as a U.S. Marine, owner-operator of Riverton Timber Incorporated, District 1 school board member, and consulting forester. These positions often require problem-solving and sometimes tough decision-making, in which I have always used a common-sense approach. Currently, I work for a firm that manages thousands of acres of timberland across northeast Louisiana. We have the trust of our clients to manage their investments that is worth millions of dollars. My strong foundation for good leadership gives me the necessary insight to move the clerk's office in a new direction, including the use of new technologies that are currently being used in other clerk's offices across the state. Employing these technologies will add efficiency to the office and speed up the filing process. God has led me down many different paths that have given me the opportunity to learn the skills needed for the clerk of court position. For strong and competent leadership in our parish, vote David May, number 73, in the upcoming and final election for the clerk of court. Elect a proactive clerk of court. Vote number 73, David May. This is paid political advertising by the campaign to elect David May, Clerk of Court of Caldwell Parish.
Hello, my name is Baron Glass, host of the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass. If your community is turning out well below other neighborhoods, elected officials will pay less attention to you, make fewer appearances, and fewer appeals to your neighborhood. Who votes has a powerful impact on public policy and local government. Voting is the cornerstone of American democracy, but sadly, far too few people vote. On November the 21st, make a difference. Go out and cast your vote for the candidate of your choice. Paid for by the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass.
We are back broadcasting live with the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass. Tonight we're talking about the state of Black America. All the lines are open currently right now. Is there anybody else out there on the line who would like to engage, have a comment or question regarding tonight's topic, the state of Black America? I'll pause for a moment. Okay, Vanessa Ongerio, we know that we have problems. We know that we have issues. Ongerio, I'm going to bring it to you first, and then Vanessa, I'll flip it back over to you, because this one is going to hit, I believe, a home run, or it's going to step on some toes. Ongerio, let's look at the black man who will lay down with a woman and have a baby. Either before or shortly after the baby is born, he flees and you see nothing else of. And sometimes there are reasons why that exists, and sometimes there are reasons why it shouldn't exist. But for the sake of debate, let's look at how that actually contributes to the state of black America, where the black male himself, who is supposed to be by commission to be a king, if he is walking away from his own throne, then how can he lead a community, much less his home, when he fails to accept the number one responsibility and goal? How does that contribute to black America?
Well, it doesn't contribute to black America if he's willing to do those things and leave. One of the things I always say, is as black people, we have a misunderstanding of what makes us kings and queens from Africa. Again, it's not the jewels, it's not the color of our skin, or the fine clothes we drive, or the palaces. It's the etiquettes that we have, the morals, the principles, the values, the sophistication, the intelligence. Let me say, the young adolescents, the young adults who are having children today, we have to get them to start raising these children in a way that's conducive, again, with our common values. I think that's the real problem, is how do we get that generation to start, teaching these values when they themselves have been robbed of it. So I think that's a very difficult thing that we have to navigate here, because they do leave it, and I do think it's a problem that's, maybe systematic with slavery, comes from the era of slavery. We were sold and put on the auction blocks, taken from the men, were easily taken from their families, or were made to leave, or their families were taken from them. So there is a mindset that it's okay to bail out because it's the way it's always been. And we have to change that. We have to reverse that way of thinking.
So Ongerio, with that mindset, okay, and I'm not going to say it's impossible, because it's not. I'm a product of a female raising a son. But that female must be strong and rooted, and they must have a higher power. And my mother, higher power was called God. So for those who may believe in something different, that's fine and okay, and for the sake of debate. So with that mindset, and I'm trying to make sure that people understand, Ongerio, that those of us who have an understanding, we're not looking for a crutch. We're not looking for a handout. We're not looking for somebody to feel sorry when you shouldn't feel. What I'm trying to do is make sure that we draw a distinct parallel and a difference between a hand up and a handout. So when we look at the absence and the mindset of that black male, is it fair to say that if they are not there to teach this man how to be a man, and to teach this girl, this daughter, how to accept what a man should be in their life, that's not a contributing factor to the state of black America?
I think it's about teaching. When you talk about bringing a young man up, I made this statement once before. Men doesn't teach men how to be strong black men. They teach them how to express that love. When I think back to my parents, again, I couldn't see no different in the values between what my mother taught me and what my father taught me. But my father taught me how to express that the things he taught me as a man. And that's the difference between what a man brings to a son or a child's life versus not being there in it. He teaches them how to express themselves, how to stay with his family, how to stay committed to his family, how to have loyalty and things like that are essential to bringing them up and teaching them to his child. The seed of integrity is what has to be passed on from generation to generation to generation in order for us to stay unified and connected to our spiritual essence. We have to pass that seed on. The seed of integrity is so important. And I think that's the seed that is drying up from drought. That's the one we're not watering. We have no integrity. And when you don't have integrity, you don't have structure. You don't have foundation. And when you don't have foundation, everything you're trying to build crumbles. And so we have to reinforce that part of our African American brothers and sisters to have some integrity and to pass that integrity on to the seed. And that means staying in your house, showing your son how to be loyal, how to be committed, how to be focused, how to take care of his family, how to go get a job, how to get educated, and to make a way for their children. we have to keep continuing to open doors for future generations. And we don't do that. We depend on what we perceive as our adversary to do that. And your adversary is not going to ever have compassion for you to where he just opened these doors on a slate to where there's equality and justice. This is why this fight goes on, and it's so very, very difficult because we fail to fight back. You know, we accept the status quo. And I don't mean fighting back from a physical perspective, but I mean just the things we can do to improve ourselves and our neighborhood. Because if you teach a child integrity and you teach them how to think, then thinking produces results. And when you produce results, you'll come up with creative ideas on how to attack problems as they surface, as they come up. So we have to teach our children how important it is to think. They don't think right now. And that comes from a perspective of not caring and not feeling like they were cared about by either one of their parents or both of their parents. You know, sometimes a woman being in the house still is no comfort to a child because a lot of times that woman ain't doing what she's supposed to do, even if the man is absent. In many cases, the child just don't have nobody. So we got to fix that. That is so significant to fix.
Okay, Vanessa, I'm going to bring that question back to you, but let me read this social media question. It goes back to the religious aspect. These religious icons will soon be called into court of public opinion to answer for misrepresentation of God and his agenda to make a people reflect his will to be righteous by choice. They can't currently choose from those who say they are his representative because they are dependent on listening to someone else interpret words that they should study themselves. So we continue to give away our future to wolves in sheep clothing. Vanessa, I'm gonna let you respond to that comment, but let me get back to what Angerio just talked about. The absent from a female perspective, black female, strong black female, from a strong black female perspective, Vanessa, does the absence of the black male and his role in the home as the leader, as the head, does that contribute to the negative aspect of the state of black America?
Once again, it's hard to say because I know strong black women that have raised good kids, male and female. I know two-parent homes that raised some of the worst kids you ever want to see. And the parents were good parents. I think that's more of a human nature type thing.
You think it's a misconception?
I believe it is because the same thing happened. I knew a lot of white families coming up, and the same thing was going on in their families. The difference between the black one and the white family, as far as if the male got the female pregnant, you know, in the white family, that male was forced to marry that girl. In the black family, we didn't force guys to marry our daughters, or we didn't force, you know, a marriage to happen. Because I know you heard that old saying about the shotgun wedding. It wasn't for black people. That was for white people. They did get married. I mean, but you're starting off in a bad marriage because this person, you know, this guy didn't want to marry this girl. She got pregnant. Okay, so, but he didn't want to marry her. So even in the black community, if the black man does run off or whatever, for me, I was a teenage pregnancy. I got pregnant when I was 17. But my kid's father did not run out on me. He married me, but he asked me to move in with him, and that's what I did. We actually had 2 kids together. We lived together for 20 years. We never married. But my kids are fine, but I'm not proud of that because I was one of those black females that I'm going to stick by my man no matter what, because he was the person that, you know, we had 2 kids together. I wanted to be married, but he never did. And sometimes we fall into that trap that we just, you know, where we just want to hold on to a family structure no matter what, whether marriage is included or not. So I didn't have the benefits of being a wife, but he had the benefits of a wife. I didn't have the benefits of a husband. This was my boyfriend. He could very easily, you know, run off and just leave me with the kids. So it's kind of like a hard thing to say, because I really don't think it's necessarily a black thing. I think everybody has done this.
So, and I'm glad that you bring that point up, Vanessa, and Ontario, and anybody else that's out there. Do you feel that some of these misconceptions, or some of these misquotes, or some of these directives that are supposed to define who we are and what we stand for, do you feel like some of these things are, Ontario, go back to what you said earlier, that they are systemic and they come from the slavery, the Jim Crow era, to where you're defined by what we say rather than what you know about yourself?
Absolutely. When you think of the man, when you think of the male's role in a home, you have to think of the enforcer and the reinforcer. He has to back that woman up. This is when two people are on the same accord, then a child is more receptive to the information that either one of them is given, because they know that they're up against an insurmountable odds. You know, a lot of times when it's just the female, a boy will test the female. But if that father is in that home and he don't play, then that boy is not going to test that female. You know, he's not going to test his mother. You know, and what does it always say? Is that a woman, the only child that wasn't birthed by a woman was Adam. Every other man came from a woman. So women have the power when they raise children and rear them up. They have the power depending on the information that they put into them. But that male has to back that female up, and that's what his role is. That's what make it crucial. That's what make a family work. When we came along in our house, I dare not challenge my mother, because my father would have killed me. Mm-hmm. And we wouldn't be having this conversation, you know. So
right.
That's the importance of a father, and that's the importance of a male in the home. If you want to have very, very good, strong, solid children that stay with their wives, then that man has to show them how to do that. And if he won't stay with his wife, it's a good possibility that the woman she raised, the son that the woman raised, won't stay with his either, because he don't see his father there, so he's less reluctant. Sometimes it can drive him to do it and say, well, my father wasn't there for mine, so I'm going to be there for mine. You know, he wasn't there for me, so I'm going to be there for mine. But more often than not, a failure imitates itself, you know, and that's just the reality, you know. I mean, that's just how that goes. So if we don't have fathers who teach their sons how to stay committed, then their sons more than likely won't stay committed in their relationships. This is why a father is so absolutely essential to being in the home, because he teaches him, that young man, how to express that manhood that he's given with those qualities. Because even if you teach him all the qualities in the world, you got to show him how to commit to them. Mm-hmm. You know? And that's the thing of it. And see, that's what we're not doing. We're not teaching our sons how to be committed, and we're not teaching our daughters how to make good choices. And so together, that spells failure.
Okay.
I mean, we have to reverse that trend.
Okay. Let's flip this over and talk from the political aspect. We know that on World Kindness Day, there were some things that happened over in Paris, France. We know that refugees are seeking asylum here and abroad. We know that the President of the United States is African American. We know that some agree with what he's doing and some disagree with what he's doing, which goes back to this leadership style. If we disagree with the president, Vanessa, and I'll start with you, should we make that known, even if it has to be on social media? And just because some may disagree with him, that it does not mean that they're selling out on their own people or their own kind. And my point is this, is that because we choose to disagree with one another, why does those who are a little less educated feel that you're selling out, or your Uncle Tom, or your Benedict Arnold, whatever the case may be? Do you feel that that is playing a role, Vanessa, when we look at us disagreeing with some of the things that our leaders do, that we're actually selling out, and does that contribute to the negative aspect of Black America?
Yeah, it's funny you said that, because I've had several conversations about President Obama with different black individuals, and a lot of them keep bringing up that he hasn't done anything for black people, mm-hmm. specifically. You know, he let gays get married, and he's letting the immigration, you know, he's letting all these immigrants come over here, and he's letting the illegals stay here, but he hasn't done anything for us. So my thing is, I remember President Obama came on TV one night and he said this was during the midterm elections, and he was telling people to vote, because if not, the Democrats were going to lose the House and the Senate, they seats or whatever. And that's exactly what happened. And then they found out how many blacks didn't vote. A lot of them. And so he came on TV and he made the comment about, if you don't vote, don't complain. So, I mean, a lot of people keep saying that he hasn't done anything for black people, but I take them back to his inaugural speech. I said, remember what Obama said when he first became president? He never told you that he was going to do anything for black people specifically. He said Americans. So they believe like he's putting this umbrella over everything, and he's glazing over the, you know, what black people, the ills that we suffer in America every day, that he's not taking really a hold of that. And he may make a few comments every now and then after the police shoot one of us, or, you know, the Trayvon Martin thing. And they just feel like he's not contributing. But like I always tell them, you have to understand, this is the President of the United States. My thing is, you can be an armchair president all you want. That's just like them guys that sitting up there with a pot belly talking about the guys that's playing football, the professional people. Okay, you can sit there and be an armchair referee or whatever. If you're not out there, that's a job that I don't believe I would even want as President of the United States. You don't know what this man has to go through, what he has to deal with, who he's dealing with. He may have been threatened, who knows. But the thing is, when black people, when you get out there and start voting, and when you start changing your situation, then maybe people will start looking at you a little differently than other than somebody that's always sitting up complaining, especially when you say, well, I didn't vote anyway. Okay, well, if you didn't vote, then what are you complaining about? You can't expect President Obama to say, okay, we're going to give every black person, you ain't never got to pay another taxes, you know, for the rest of your life. You don't pay taxes anymore. You're going to give each black household $1 million. What do you think is going to happen if he actually did that?
Excellent point, Vanessa. Excellent point.
They don't think about what he's going to face or what he's facing every day. Why he said what he's going to do for America. He said, Americans, you are an American. You're a black American. Yeah, we're oppressed, but the things that we can do not to be oppressed. You have to learn how to fight for yourself. They're not going to fight for you. You have to learn how to do that yourself. I'm not talking about the bootstrap thing. I'm talking about knowledge. Get some knowledge. Knowledge is power. It always has been. It always will be. There is strength in numbers. Always has been. Always will be. And there's nothing in complaining.
I'll tell you, Ontario, Vanessa's making some powerful positions. Do you concur, dissent, or somewhere in the middle? Talk to us.
I absolutely concur. I think that what people don't know how to do, a lot of African-American brothers and sisters don't know how to do, is access what Obama has made available for them. For instance, the FS Act, you know, that's the Fair Sentencing Act. He expanded Pell Grants. He reduced student loans. He increased job support. He signed the Veterans Bill. He signed the Ledbetter Act, which guaranteed fair pay for women. He increased child care. You know, so he's done a whole bunch of things that will benefit all Americans, as she said. But when we think of all Americans and then we just think about our individual black problem, you know, that we feel like we're facing, then that's because that's where we have to do our job, because he's made things available to us, but we have to go get them. And they are in accordance with America, because he is the leader of this nation. And a government that doesn't love all of its people is a government that doesn't love any of its people. So he has to love all of his people equally, just like Jesus does. Jesus is not going to come and do things for us in specificity because we're black. He's going to do them for all people, you know? And so our president has to do that the same way. And as far as the policymakers are the ones who really create these bills that maybe have some sort of common value with the things that we want, in particular in life as African Americans. You know, like justice, you know. And these things, these are the things, equal education, all these things. So this come from your policymakers more than anything. The president will sign some executive orders that can make things happen, but your policymakers are the ones that will create the bills that will be conducive to the values that we seek. You know, but he's done many things. If they just look and check out his record, he's done so many things that can be beneficial to African Americans if we access them. But if we sit back and complain about them, then those are the ones who would think that, well, he didn't do anything.
Right.
You know, but this man has done many great things.
So Ontario, does it go back, Vanessa, you too, does it go back to this thing that you're preaching, Vanessa, knowledge, that we're so ignorant to where we just really, we're so blind by our ignorance to where we can't see the light to accept the knowledge?
Right.
Okay. I'm trying to read as much as I can. Two comments. One is that it is in fact a contributing factor of the current state of Black America, because even in the instance of a strong woman in the home, holding the family together, the places where the Black man is seen in society makes him a total outcast and undesirable. Here we are. He is promoted as a hustler, a pimp, a thug, a deadbeat, a criminal, non-productive, unemployable, and unfit for leadership. So he finds himself always trying to prove that he is none of these things when the entire world believes he is. Vanessa, I know because we've talked a lot. I know for a fact that anytime you ask a woman, in certain instances, about a Black man, all of them will say that they cheat. All of them will say that they don't have the act together. And this respondent is exactly right. So when you beat a person, let me back up. Where there's life, there's hope. But when a woman take the life away from a man, his hope is gone, and soon too will he be gone. Does that, Ontario and Vanessa, anybody else out there on the line, does that contribute to the state of Black America, the labels that our own give our Black men as definition and define them as to who they are?
Perception is people's reality, not that it's actually the reality, but it's people's reality. And if we are perceived from that perspective, then even our women themselves will see us in that particular light. So we have been branded in a way that we are unattentive, ineffective, But like I say, the stipulations that could create these conditions of poverty and that could create the conditions in which we raise our children up, that responsibility may be the government's, but bringing our children up is the responsibility of us in teaching them how to be good, strong Black men. We can blame some elements on the political side of it, but this is where we have to have personal accountability for the men that we turn out. In one of the poems that I wrote called "How Come, My Brother," I raised that very issue, you know, and what has happened to our beautiful people. Those are two pieces that I raised that very issue about our personal accountability, what we have to do in our homes to inspire our children to be great children, to be great men and women, to be committed, devoted men and women to one another. We just are not doing the things in our home that's going to produce children that's like that. So we have to return that. That's the message that we have to get out to our communities, you know, to the brothers and sisters in our community. We got to get that message out of raising your children with morals, principles, and values that are going to be conducive to that commitment. And that's the bottom line. If we don't do those things, I just don't know any other answer. Mm-hmm. That has to be it.
So Vanessa, when we look at, he is promoted as a hustler, as a pimp, as a thug, as a deadbeat, criminal, non-productive, unemployable, and unfit for leadership. When he is promoted by those terms, by the Queen, how could he overcome that?
Well, from me personally, and from just different situations that I've seen with different men, not me personally, with different men.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah, couples that I know of, people that are married, there's a generation of men that those labels are stuck on. That was the generation back in the when drugs were being pumped into the black neighborhoods back in the 70s. When all of these kids, the single mothers and the single, they were on drugs themselves and they were having kids. That's pretty much this generation that they're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Because the generation that I came from, that you came from, black men were black men. They were good, strong black men. They were in their homes with their families. They were raising their kids. They were marrying their wives. They were, they were good providers. All the guys that I ever knew, all of them had jobs. So when the media or whoever keeps, calling us thugs or calling our men thugs, and it goes back to the slavery thing. When they separated the man and the woman, they beat the man down in front of the woman, took away his dignity, took away his self-respect, just took away everything. So when you oppress a nation of people for that length of time, and then you oppress them in different ways, like through the media. Okay, you may not be stripping them down and beating them in front of everybody, but you're doing it through the media. You're doing it through the news. You're doing it through the newspapers. You're doing it on Facebook. You're saying that black people, black men and people are lazy. We've always said it, and you can see. Look at the crime rate. Look at the black-on-black crime. There is no such thing as black-on-black crime.
Mm-hmm.
That's why you have to have knowledge. You have to know where this is coming from. You have to get to the root of the problem. Black-on-black crime is something that sounds bad, and as long as it sounds bad, it's attached to us.
Uh-huh.
White people kill each other, Mexicans kill each other, Orientals kill each other. They don't call it white-on-white crime. They don't call it Mexican on Mexican crime. They don't call it Oriental or Oriental crime. But it's always us that gets that negative connotation hooked to us every single time, and we believe it.
So Vanessa, are you saying that once again we buy into this false premise of something that does not identify who we are?
Yeah, so if you're talking about black people live in black neighborhoods, who else, if something happens or a crime happens, who else is going to happen on? There are no white people in black neighborhoods. So why do you call it black-on-black crime? It's crime just like any other crime.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to stop we have to stop buying into this all the time. That's another thing about educating your kids. Because if a black male feels, because they've actually did studies, and some black males, young black males, actually feel that they're not worthy. That's horrible.
Mm-hmm.
I can't imagine my son feeling that he's not worthy because society says he isn't.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the suppression comes in, to where they don't want to do anything. And there was a news special on here in Houston. They were talking to the Bloods and the Crips. Now, when you're not paying attention to your kids, the gangs are. They will recruit your kids 12, 11, 10 years old, 14 years old. They'll get next to them, tell them what they want to hear, because they're not hearing it at home or not getting it at home for whatever reason. Whether it's a single family or a single parent family, or if it's two parents that can't cope. But we have to be more diligent on our kids and what they're doing, who they're associating with, because these gangs are, they're capturing our kids. They're capturing their minds, filling their heads full of things. And their people are, unfortunately, oppressed people are more receptive to the easy way. Not receptive to where you need to go to school, you need to learn something, you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to go to college, you need to get a job, you need to get a career. They don't want to hear that.
Mm-hmm.
They want to hear that fast, quick, fast money. And if they can get it, they're going to get it.
Right.
So we have to know, that's why we have to know what our kids are, where they are, who they're associating with. Because there are signs that if your child is involved in a gang. And a lot of these parents don't even know that their kids are in gangs until it's too late.
Mm-hmm. So,
I have a question.
Go ahead.
I have a question. I don't know if you all can hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead, caller.
Then I have a question first, and then I have a comment. So my question is to the sister, and this is strictly didactic, and I'm not throwing darts, but I want to know, as a culture, how do we not see black-on-black crime as a problem and as a negative? How do we not see that as a problem? Because our culture, you can call it black-on-black crime, you can call it murder in the black community, you can call it degenerative behavior, but there are some proclivities that go on in our culture that does not go on in other folks' culture. For example, the white man is the biggest serial killer. That's their problem. And guess what we say? When they start talking about serial killers, we say white man. Even a white man in a van with glasses, we're looking at him sideways. That's just how it is. But it is the black community that don't care if they shoot up little babies trying to get at another brother, one brother trying to get at the other. Now, that is just a fact. If we cannot see that as negative, how can we move forward, or how can we even correct it? We're going to have to own up to some of this ugly, degenerative behavior. And I think putting Band-Aids on bullet wounds don't help us. I know we're wounded and we hurt, but we have got to live in a reality to accept what's wrong about us. So, again, my question is, how can we not see that as bad?
No, we didn't say that it wasn't bad. I said the label is bad. We don't kill
Shouldn't
each
it
other
be bad, though? My sister, shouldn't it be a bad label? Shouldn't we speak to our shame that little baby girls and boys that are infants get shot in the head and shot up while they're really trying to shoot at the parents? Or just like what happened in Chicago where they shot the little 9-year-old because of his dad. No, why is it? There's no way around that. That's all, I guess, what I'm saying. So I want to make this comment.
Go ahead, caller.
I want to make this comment about you all touched on so many topics. I can't even keep up with you.
Thanks for joining.
I want to say this. I want to say this. I think that we have tools at our disposal that we don't know how to use.
Uh-huh.
And you know what the police say when they pull you over for some, bullshit? They'll tell you ignorance of the law is their problem.
Mm-hmm.
So this culture feels like ignorance of how to stay afloat as a culture ain't their problem either.
So caller.
What I'm saying is, yeah.
Go ahead. I thought you finished. Go ahead.
Well, what I'm saying is, if you look at the Japanese man, you don't see a whole bunch of Japanese politicians, do you? You can't even count on one hand how many Japanese are in the Senate.
Come on, caller.
But they have a substantial holding and presence and strong culture in this North American culture.
Come on.
What did they figure out? When they got their butts handed to them by this white man, you know what the Japanese man said? We don't see where we weaken at, where we're hemorrhaging all this blood. Why are we so broken and poor and beaten down? What are we doing wrong? And you know what the concession that they came up with? We are letting our children just educate, go into any field they want to. We're making little dolls and little trinkets. We need industry and we need culture. And you know what they did? They got Nissan and Toyota. They told their children, no, you don't just go off to study tiddlywinks. If you're going to get your education subsidized by us and your parents that we're going to put a stranglehold on, you're going to study technology. You're going to major in mathematics and science. You're going to do for the whole of the community. Mm-hmm. We folk in Northern America, black folk, this is the price for assimilation.
Mm-hmm.
We want to be like white folk, but we don't have the privilege that they have. So at the end of the day, what I want to say is we need to look at studies regarding us.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I want to give y'all these two studies. There's a PhD, and he's a fellow. He's a black man, okay? And his name is Dr. Carl Taylor, PhD. And he did a study called Dangerous Society. That's the name of his book. And he did an intense, he and a team of 8 black men did a study of Detroit and the mechanisms of the inner city and what keeps the black community down.
Mm-hmm.
Now, y'all gonna get your feelings hurt if I told you what he found.
Come on, no. Hey, let me just say this. Our number one goal is to make a difference, and we believe that when you talk, we have the opportunity to make a difference. So come on, talk to us.
Well, okay, what the man found was this. He said single parents, two parents, third generation, fourth generation, extended parents, all make good parents. He said, but the problem is that the gang culture in the black community, he said every culture has a gang.
Mm-hmm.
He said the problem is the black man stays at a low-frequency gang.
Come on.
Where he robs and pillages and deduces his own culture, but the white man goes to corporate.
Uh-huh.
Gang bangs on the other cultures on the earth. Now, these are not my words.
Mm-hmm.
This is what this black man said. He said there are 3 levels of culture and assimilation that men and cultures do. And he said he finds that what the problem in the black community is that they got rid of Big Mama.
Mm-hmm.
One thing.
Come on.
He said the second thing is they found that two-parented families who work extremely hard, like in Detroit where they had 2 parents working in the automobile industry, making good money, their boys who had privilege tended to make the young boys of single mothers become wayward. That's who they got to sell dope for them. That's who they got to shoot and to do all kinds of things. And he said, because this is the degenerate behavior that we have in the black community, where in other communities, by the time the young man is 22, he has graduated to some white-collar degeneracy, which is not seen as degeneracy in America. It's seen as what? Getting ahead,
Mm-hmm.
aggressiveness.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just saying, these are not my sentiments, but this is what this group of black men said. Also, there's a book called The Negro Family in the United States of America that studied us since slavery
Mm-hmm.
until the 50s.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is, we believe propaganda when it tells us about our marriages and about our relationships.
Come on.
And even this book said that they found that the children who still had Big Mama around
Uh-huh. Come on.
had mama, they had the mother, the father, but Big Mama was in close proximity. They said those children tended to do better.
Yes, indeed.
What are they trying to tell us? We
Come on, sister.
culture that relies on Big Mama,
Uh-huh.
but somebody has told us, no, you don't, see, y'all not going to like this, but I don't care who hears this. It is the white man who does not respect his Big Mama. The white woman has no position in her culture once she begins to age, but the black woman has 2 more phases after she becomes a mother.
Come on, sister.
Auntie, Nana, and then Big Mama.
Hey, come on.
Follow people. We don't have that anymore. Big Mama helped people save houses. She saved marriages,
Uh-huh.
coming to watch the kids while y'all go somewhere for a month.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just saying, maybe we should look at the Japanese and say, wait a minute, let's stop trying to have swagger and be the best rapper, because see, this culture blows the black man's head up and make him think, excuse me, he's the sexual stud. You see him posting
Come on.
white women everywhere every time he gets some money. But guess what the culture also says? It's not the black woman that's telling you you a thug, you ain't no good, you this. It is these newspapers and the media, and black women don't own that.
Mm-hmm.
So what they're trying to do is create a breach in the, I'm not going to say family, in the community
Come on, sister.
for not married. What you need to do is when you see a black man, speak into his mind. If you can hire him, hire him. If you can help some black men do a line business, all these kinds of things, we can do something different. But what this culture is doing with the media is they're trying to get the black woman to drop you. That's what they're trying to do. That's why they put the Kardashians and all these people up, because they know that every culture in Africa that stays afloat has the woman as the economic nucleus. Why do you think this white man about to put the black woman on their dollar? Because they want her to resurrect it. I ain't fooled by this mess. So I'm saying to the black man, your hope is in your woman. Get in agreement with her and your mama, big mama, your grandmama, and we can do some things differently. We need to stop trying to be in the limelight, and we need to do like the Japanese did, sit down, bandage up our wounds, and say, you know what, where do we go from here? We all have fallen off. How can we come up? That's what we need to do.
Caller, I'll tell you.
I'm going to yield the mic.
No, you're fine. I'll tell you, I'm sitting here looking at all of these responses. Okay, one says, I like her, come on, sister, who is coming from a Caucasian. There's another individual that's out there saying, I want to hug whoever that sister is that is talking right now. Good God Almighty. And then there's another one that's out there that's saying something like that, and about 4 or 5 others. But let me ask you this, caller, because you talked about exactly, there's Larry Bell out there from Montgomery, Louisiana, saying, hello, sister. But let me ask you this. I asked this question of Angerio and Vanessa earlier, and I want to bring it back to you now, since you're on the line, if you don't mind, if you got a moment. And the respondent said this: it is, in fact, a contributing factor of the current state of black America, because even in the instance of a strong woman in the home, holding the family together, the places where the black man is seen in society makes him a total outcast and undesirable. He is promoted as a hustler, as a pimp, as a thug, as a deadbeat, as a criminal, non-productive, unemployable, and unfit for leadership. So he finds himself always trying to prove that he is none of these things when the entire world believes he is. Do you think that particular sentiment contributes to the state of black America?
Well, let me say this. There's a dichotomy in this culture as far as the black man is concerned. When you look at the media, there's no gray area with how they present the black man, is what I was trying to explain to you all. They either show him as that litany of bad things that you just named, or either they show him as the best stud in town. Do you understand that most of the media surrounding white women or non-black women who this media, this North American media, wants to promote as having her fantasy fulfilled, she's with the black man. And they got the black man out here saying, well, I got options, and I need a woman that does this and does that. Mind you, the black woman ain't never left this man's side because she's too loyal to him, contrary to what they feed you. And this same culture, black women don't own newspapers, okay?
But caller,
they're not running these radio stations, and it is this propaganda from this North American culture and the music that says that about the black man. So I feel like propaganda, we got to remember, it's no longer like it was in World War II where they drop in leaflets and you open it up and they call you a nigger. No, it's in the music. It's in the social media. It's in the television programming that you see. So the black man needs to say to this culture, what are you trying to show me as really? On one hand, I'm the stud, and every white woman that wants a fantasy needs to be trying to hook up with me. And on the other hand, they show you as degenerate, unemployable, a penis swinger, a deadbeat dad. And then here's what happens. The black woman gets blamed for all of these titles that everyone else is heaping up on the black man. So that's why I'm saying what the black man needs to do is step back, look at what's really going on, get in agreement with his woman. She don't have to be your significant other. She could be your sister, your auntie, your neighbor, and say, how can we come up in this culture? That's what I'm saying. It is the culture that we are trying to assimilate into. It's not conducive to our growth. Like I told you, your woman, your mother, once she passes 40, she got 3 more stages. The white woman, she's done. They don't call her Big Mama. Do you understand what I'm saying? Big Mama's the one that take care of the crazy. It was Big Mama that took in kids whose parents were on crack. It's Big Mama that get people out of jail, that feed kids up and down the street. We got rid of her. We need to bring her back.
But Carla,
according to our culture.
Let me ask you this. We're speaking of Big Mama. But in today's society, grandmas are in their 30s and 40s. Would you agree with that?
I agree with that.
Okay.
And understand this. But, sir, I want you to do this. When you do the research, you'll find that Big Mama was 36 years old back in the 20s. I don't know where we got this from, that we always had these relationships synchronized with age and time that were so perfect. No, we made stuff work. Yeah, that's not realistic.
Hold on. Is there another call out there trying to say something?
Joe Neckbone, is that you?
No, it's not.
Yeah. Well, this is Pianki. How you doing?
How you doing, sir?
I was listening to the conversation.
Come on in.
But I didn't want to interrupt the caller.
Oh, no, go ahead. We're going to bring the caller back in. It's open dialogue. We're talking tonight about the state of Black America. Talk to us.
Well, you know, I measure the state of Black America or any other ethnic group according to economics.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how else you going to measure? I heard somebody talking about religion and churches, and I think that's a detriment.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, here in this community, you can take 16 blocks and count about 34 churches,
mm-hmm.
or what is, or what at one time was, and you know, you can go on Taylor Avenue from Page to St. Louis Avenue. We're here in the St. Louis area. There is, or what was, 12 churches,
uh-huh.
and you're only talking about 4 blocks, 4 to 5 or 6 blocks. So, no, I don't believe in those. Churches are entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
That's all they are. Churches are non-for-profit, and they're entertainment. And people give to the church because they can write it off against their taxes if they're working.
Uh-huh.
And that's all they are. But, you know, a lady, one of your co-hosts, had made mention of when you're talking about education. And education is very, very important. But the type of education that, you know, you find most of African-American children in is very detrimental, because you can look at the academic performance. You know, there in Detroit, you had a court decision where a black woman sued the school district and said that her child was not getting a quality education.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the court came back and ruled and said school districts aren't required to give a quality education. And decades ago, a New York court said the same thing. All they're supposed to do is to provide the opportunity. So whether or not your child is getting the education or not lies within your hands.
Mm-hmm.
And she made another mention, talking about black children that's proficient. Proficient in most of your inner city schools is not a proficient someplace else, believe me.
Mm-hmm.
And if you go by that, you're totally being misled. What you should do is have your child assessed to see exactly where they are. And you need to start early, as early as you possibly can. Then, once that child is assessed, and assess just basically reveal where they are at that particular point in their life, age-wise or grade-wise. And then, if they're not where they are, and even if they are, you're supposed to provide them with the resources and the tools where they can make improvements and achievements. Your child, and you know, somebody said about steering the black children, if left on their own, they would steer themselves into these non-productive professions or occupations, if you want to call it. That's totally ignorant. You should not let your children choose that occupation. That should be chose early on. Then you start grooming them, whereas they will be able to succeed and hold their own when they go on to higher education.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very simple. I mean, by the 6th grade, 7th grade, they should be starting to accumulate a resume. They should be exposed to lectures. They should be exposed to science projects. They should be taken to universities where they have free lectures for the public to come in and view. Your ACT test, you know, you can take the ACT test at least 12 times before you graduate out of high school. But even so, colleges don't just look at high GPAs. They look at a full-rounded student, and that's what they go for. So, you know, and you know, another thing, there needs to be full choice afforded to these inner-city parents. I mean, locking your child in a public school is totally ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
There should be choice where you can have full pay to go to a private school, full pay to go to a charter school, home school, or even good public schools. Then you can, at that point, you can blame the parents.
Mm-hmm.
You got a child locked into the public school district, just, you know, ain't nothing.
I want to say
Well, you know, I
this.
listened to you
Mr.
about
Pianki
15, 20
just said-
minutes.
Well, okay, but I want to say this because this is very important. What Mr. Pianki just said about guiding the education of your child, that is the recipe that the Japanese man took on. They don't leave it up to their children. So you understand, that's how they got Toyota and Nissan. That's how the Chinese got Samsung. And so what I'm saying is, why doesn't that work for us, that we do what the white man does by letting our children choose their own destiny? Because the white man has backup for his children. If they become flakes, he can still give them a job if they major in tiddlywinks, because he is in control of the marketplace in this culture. The black man is not. So you can't afford to just let your child does what he does as far as education and training is concerned. I just wanted to make that available for us to think on. Okay, go on.
Yeah, and that's true. I mean, then when you look at your businesses, we need just to, you know, and you talked about politics. You can't have a functionally working politics until you have functionally viable businesses, because it's businesses that control politics. People that vote don't control the politics. You always complain about your politicians don't do what you want them to do, right? That's because somebody else buy them out from under you. It happened in New York with the Korean Association. They bought out City Hall that caused an action by the Dinkins administration to remove the black street vendors off the street. That was because the Korean Association bought out the black politicians.
I think we may have lost a caller. We're looking probably at about 3 or 4 minutes left in the broadcast. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give Angerio, Vanessa, and I'll give the other caller the opportunity to have a final closing statement. And we can pick this up maybe next Monday night. Of course, we'll be broadcasting again Thursday night. So, Angerio.
I'm going to get out of here. I just want to make that statement.
A caller, feel free to catch the Smoking Glass Hour each and every Monday and Thursday night. If you'll follow us on some of the social media, we do them live and at spur of the moment, impromptu. So we love engagement. And let me just make sure everybody understands. We are one of those who will engage in any topic: racism, sexism, voting rights, equal rights, women's rights, and all those other rights that are afforded or supposed to be afforded to individuals from this country. We love to talk about things that other people are afraid. So feel free to call in at any point in time to engage in the conversation and offer topics. And we are even opening the opportunity for individuals to host their own show. So caller, go ahead. We're looking at about 2 minutes. So if you guys can at least give each individual about 15 or 20 seconds, I'll allow you guys to do the closing. Angerio.
Okay, yes, I would just like to say I enjoyed the sister that called in. Her point is spot on, as is the brother that called in. We have to raise our children on their lap babies. I would also like to say the term crime on black on black crime really comes from the concentrated areas of crime that go on in the black communities, such as Detroit, Chicago, Los Angeles, Washington, D.C., and other cities like Miami. So that's where that culture comes from. But we have to just do a better job of bringing our children up and teaching them when they're lab babies, and teaching our young brothers and sisters that a C is a failing grade in an advanced world. So we have to do a much better job with teaching them as lab babies and guiding their careers, as was said, and I concur.
Okay, Vanessa.
Yeah, I enjoyed the callers, and they are correct about the things that they're saying, and so we just have to get together, become one big unit, whether it's family, to make some things change. But we also have to understand what oppression means.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was talking about black on black crime, I said it was a label. It's just another label. It doesn't have to be. Crime is crime. It doesn't matter. If you're in a black neighborhood and somebody got killed, most likely you know they were black anyway. So it doesn't have to be put out there with all this, like the word I always use is propaganda, and I thank the lady for using it.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what it is.
Okay.
So we have looking at each other that way.
Okay.
It is bad, but it's a label.
Okay. I'm gonna let the female caller go first, and then the male caller, and then we'll close it out.
Okay, I want to say this quickly, and I want to speak to the mind of the black community and the black man especially. I want to say this, and this is not a compliment to the white man, but understand that this white man is a genius in administration and the acquisition of finances. And I want to say to the black man, look at this. He putting the black woman on a $20 bill, putting a black woman on his money before he does his own woman. What does that say to you, black man? He understands that what she touches blows up. You better get in agreement with your woman and create some industry. Stop fooling around.
Okay, I'll tell you, caller, we welcome you tonight. We welcome you on the next night and the next night and the next night, because our number one goal, once again, is to make a difference. And we believe that you make a difference when people talk. The message is loud and clear. When people talk, we learn. When we get together, we learn. When we understand and respect each other's options, we go forward. We know that thousands of Americans descended upon Washington and the Mall in August of 1963 to participate in the March on Washington for the jobs and the freedom. We also know that 50 years later, some 50 some odd years later, the national unemployment rate stood at about 5.7% compared to 10.8% for blacks and other groups. Now, the Labor Department also says that in July of 2013, the latest figures available, the national unemployment rate was about 7.4% versus 12.6% for blacks. There have been no improvements, says one of the guys, the director of the Economic Policy Institute program on race, ethnicity, and the economy. He says that African Americans are still less likely to get jobs even if they have the same qualification as their counterparts. Experts say biases may be behind the disparities in employment, housing, wealth, and poverty. There continues to be a racial bias in the labor market. Some of the overt is consciousness, and some is not. Here we are. Until we acknowledge the presence of overt bias and subtle unconscious bias, we will not be able to solve the problem of excessively high black unemployment. You've been listening to the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass on tonight, the state of Black America. Thanks for all you guys who called in, ladies who called in. We ask that you please join us once again Thursday night at 8 o'clock when we talk about local and state politics, and when we may continue the conversation of the state of Black America. You can catch us at www.thesmokingglasshour.com. You can catch us on Twitter, Instagram, and all of those other social media outlets that are out there. You can also catch us at 773-897-6398. Good night, and may the good Lord be with you.